What's up, everyone? I'm Daley, the Daily Effect Boxing. I'm bringing you Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders. My thoughts on why I think both fighters can win this fight. This is VMTV, and first of all, I want to talk about Billy Joe. Billy Joe, one word I would use to describe him is masterful. When it comes to boxing, masterful. His ring craft, his ring IQ, his boxing IQ is one of the best out there. On his day, he can make any fighter in the world look stupid. You only have to look to the fight that he had against like Lemieux, where he boxed outstanding. Game plan was good, made Lemieux look average. So he needs to be like that tonight. But not only like that, he has to do it 10 times better than what he done against Lemieux, in my opinion. It's taken him a long time to get this point. You know, things have got in their way, outside things, personal things. He should have been at this point a very long time ago. But he's here now. And he has to deliver. A big ask, because not everyone crosses the pond and pulls it off and goes into their backyard and delivers. You know, it takes a lot of balls to cross over from the UK and go over to America, what I like to call the Mecca of boxing. Yes, you've got the MGM Grand and Madison Square Garden. For me, every fighter in the world wants to fight there. In this case, it's at the AT&T Stadium in Texas, where he's going to have a 70,000, well, 70,000 is going to be in attendance. And I'll say probably 65,000 of those people are rooting for Canelo. So he has to deal with that, because Canelo's going to throw shots, and even the shots that miss, all Canelo's fans are going to be screaming like mad. So if he's going to win this fight, if it goes to points, at best I could see a draw, because he's really going to really have to dominate Canelo every single round, and it has to be convincing. Can he do it? Of course he can do it. He's got 2 fists. He's got 2 legs, just like Canelo has. A human being versus another human being. So of course he can do it. But we're talking about Canelo here. And when you look at both of their resumes and you compare Billy Joe's to Canelo's, it doesn't compare. Obviously, you have to get given the opportunity to have a high caliber fighter on your resume to turn around and go, look at my resume, look how good it is. But for me, Canelo has been in with the better fighters. People talk about he struggled against, you know, people like Lara, you know, skillful fighters, southpaws, etc. But you know, how many years ago was that? You know, one thing with Canelo, he's improving with every single fight. If Canelo was coming towards the end of his career and he's got a bit of father time that's caught up with him, and then I'll have more confidence in saying Billy Joe is going to win this fight. But Canelo doesn't look like father time is catching up with him anytime soon. He still looks fresh. He still looks like he's improving with every fight. What I like about Canelo, he's very, very spiteful in the way he goes about his business. Very spiteful. You only have to look at the fight he had against Callum Smith. They knew Callum Smith had a good hook, a good counter hook. So they were like, what can we do to stop that? Let's target the arm. And people might think, well, that's cheating. But if you understand boxing, all the elite athletes, the best of the best, they will do anything and everything possible to gain even a little bit of an advantage. And that's what high level boxing is all about, is gaining that little bit of advantage that will get you through the fight. And that's what he done against Callum Smith. So Billy Joe Saunders, yes, has got the boxing skills, but he can't come in there thinking that his skills are just going to be, his skills only is going to be enough. Canelo isn't a Lemieux. He doesn't just stand there. He's not a come forward fighter that has power and doesn't move his head. Canelo is skillful. He's aggressive, but he's skillful with it. He has boxing brains. He has a boxing IQ. He can move and dance around the ring himself when he wants to dictate the pace. You know, when he walks fighters down, he does it with slick head movement and gets inside. And we know when he closes a gap, he's very vicious and spiteful. Anytime I train a fighter, that's one thing I look for in a fighter. Is a fighter that knows how to be spiteful. And I think you can't teach that. I think you're either spiteful or you're not spiteful. And Canelo is spiteful. So Billy Joe Saunders needs to be able to stay calm, catch shots, slip shots, hold if he needs to, and counter back with shots, fight fire with fire if it go, because it will go there. Canelo will take him to that dark place, to those trenches. He has to be able to do that for, I say, 5-10 seconds. Not even 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and then get the hell out of there. If he can manage to do that in those 5 seconds, whether that's counter punching, whether that's fighting fire with fire, whether that's holding him, whether that's being rough and dirty on the inside, and then if he can deal with that, and if he can give it back, then I think you could see a Billy Joe Saunders win. But as I said, it has to be very convincing. Very convincing. And I want to touch on, back to what I was saying about crossing the pond. Very few people have crossed the pond to the United States to pull off a big win. It takes a lot of balls. Billy Joe Saunders, he's got them. Not doubting that. But here's the thing. The reason why I talk about this is because when you do cross the pond, it's all right being on this side and being like, you know what, I can win, I can handle it. But then as the fight gets closer, as the press conferences start happening, as the weigh-ins start happening, and now you get to the day of the fight, even up to your ring walk, you might be fine. But then when it's time to walk to the ring, that's when you find out who you really are as a fighter. And can you handle a situation like this? Can you handle being in a big mega event like this? It takes a lot of balls and you have to be mentally strong. So I'll be looking, because I observe fighters, you know, I observe them. When Anthony Joshua went to Madison Square Garden, I knew he was going to lose that fight just by his body language. The bell didn't even have to ring. Wilder, I knew he was going to lose against Fury the second time because his body language. You know what I mean? Fury crossed the pond and done it. Other people like Kell Brook has done it. So it can be done. A lot of people have done it. But there's also a lot of people that have failed. Now, I'm not saying Joshua's a failure. But what I'm saying is, maybe the occasion got to him. And this might be the difference tonight. Billy Joe Saunders might take that ring walk. He might be fine during the ring walk, but when he steps in the ring and he's got Canelo across the other side looking at him, that's when it could all change right there and Canelo could win the fight. Because boxing, a lot of it, 90%, 95%, is all mental. So that side of things has to be on point. If I was to have a case for Canelo winning the fight, what I think is he doesn't mind giving rounds away. When you come to this stage of your career where you're at the pinnacle and you're doing 12-round championship fights, you don't mind giving up rounds because you have the confidence and you know you'll make them up later on, depending on who you're fighting, the game plan, etc., etc. So I think he'll give away a few rounds because Billy Joe's southpaw, slick, masterful boxer, as I said. But once Canelo figures him out, closes the distance with that slick head movement, with those feints, I reckon he might be too strong for Billy Joe Saunders. And you could see Canelo stopping Billy Joe, I would say, in between 8 to 10 rounds. That's my prediction, 8 to 10 rounds. Billy Joe, the only way he can win is on points. I don't think he can knock out Canelo. But if he wins, if it goes to points, then Billy Joe, he has to be convincing with every single round. Just the same way Mayweather was against Canelo. So that's my prediction. Everyone, do with that what you want. Go and make your bets. I'm not making a prediction saying Canelo's going to win or Billy Joe's going to win. I was making a case of why I think Billy Joe can win and why I think Canelo can win. Billy Joe can win because at the end of the day, he's a masterful boxer. IQ is very high level. And if he can stay focused and not lose concentration for even a second, then I do believe Billy Joe can win on points, but it has to be convincing. And Canelo, we know what Canelo brings. He's a big puncher. So that's one thing Billy Joe has to deal with. Has he been in with a puncher like Canelo? You talk about Lemieux, but I told you, when you got people like Lemieux coming at you, they're the easiest fighters to fight if you've got a high boxing IQ. Because once you take their power away, they don't have anything else. Whereas Canelo, you take his power away, he still has other things he can do. Because he has got a high boxing IQ himself. He's very skillful himself. So it's going to be a very interesting fight. May the best man win.